and welcome to another week in our garden. Now it's a very overcast, sort of fine rainy day today, so it won't bother us this week, because this week we're going to do the holly rings. I'm going to show you how I do my holly rings. As you can see, there's quite a few already done. I have a few still to do, but we're having a break and we're going to show you how I do it. Now this is the ring we're going to use today. It's a 12-inch from there to there. You can get them 10-inch and you can get them 14-inch. Now before you start, if you look, there's quite a lot of sharps on it where they actually welded these cross pieces on, so always make sure they're facing upwards before we start. And I'm using string to tie the straw on. You can use wire if you wish, and we're using straw. In the old days we used to use moss, but you can't get the moss these days, so we have to use barley straw. It's softer than wheat straw, so we use that. There we go then. Now you just tie it on. Just tie it on. A good knot, because you don't want it to come undone and she'll have it all to do again. There you go. And if you do it to the side of one of these cross pieces, then we can get off and go round. Just get my string ready. There you are. Now what I normally do, I take a handful of the straw and hold it over the ring, and it's about a handful for me, so that's quite an handful with my hands. And then I just keep going over about an inch apart, like that, look, and just keep going round. As the straw gets thinner, put a little bit more on. It's quite a messy job. Don't worry whether it's sticking out or not when you finish, we'll sort that out later. And then if I just do a few, and then I'll show you how I'm progressing. You are, all the same thickness if you can. There you go. Alright, we're getting to the end now, so just keep going for a while yet. Make sure it's nice and tidy. There you go. That's it. And there's a bit of a gap there, so we'll do the tie just there. Look. I have to put it round my thumb, pull it round, and then tie off. That's it, we just cut that off. You just get a pair of scissors and just roughly, don't need to be exact with it, just take the long bits off. Careful you don't cut your string now, or she'll have it all to do again. That's it, look. And then round again. Not too exact. There you go. Just do the inside. Turn it over, do the back, just tidy up. And then if you just go round, just tightening the straw. There you go. That's that ring strawed up. That'll do fine. Now we've got the ring strawed up, we're going to put the conifer on. The conifer I use is several varieties. I have quite a few nice people that tell me to come and help myself, but I only snip little bits off. I don't cut the chunks out of the tree, obviously. A lot of yellow in that. It looks green on one side, you see, but when you spin it, it's actually a nice yellow. This one is what I call the fluffy one, because it makes doing the ring a lot easier. If you see where this is, that one's flat, this is nice and fluffy, so that's a good conifer to use. But when you put the two together, you can get a good effect with it. The other things I've got this year, I've got a bit of blue spruce that we're using, and of course a little bit of Picea rabis or Christmas tree. So those two, we'll put that on the outside of the ring and put that on the inside, and we'll add a little bit as we go as well to those, so that will bulk the side of the rings up. Right, we'll start the ring. We'll just put the this is binding wire, which is a little bit thinner than the ordinary wire, but it's just as strong. Make a good twist on, as I say, we don't want it to come off, and always tuck it so the point is into the conifer, so you won't be catching your fingers. So this is how I do it. Keep it flat, and then we just take bits, 2 or 3 if you like, and hold them in the sides like that to build them up. Add a bit of the green and the yellow. Now if it's got a bit of wood on it, just push it into the straw. That helps hold them down. And then that one's got a few buds on it, look. And just build it up. Really pack the sides. The top we're not too interested in at the moment, because we will put in stuff on the top, but the sides really need to be bulked. That's nearly got that going. We'll just add a bit of yellow into it, look, to give it a bit of a lift. One more yellow, I think. There you go, that will do. And then take your binding wire, and I go over once, and then I spread them, pull, and then over again to lock the wire down. Take a bit of blue and hold that at the side like that. An odd bit of Picea as well if you like, and then a bit of the Christmas tree on the inside, spread it up a little, and then same again, over twice, once to hold it, once to lock it, and then we set off again. Now when you come to start, lift your Christmas tree up a bit and push the other underneath, but as you can see we soon get building. I tried to keep all these bits of conifer the same size. It makes putting the ring together easier. Bit of yellow in there as well, look. You see, a little bit on top, but not so much. And then really bulk the sides. If it's got a bit of wood on, remember, push it in. Always helps hold it together. There's a nice bushy piece for the back, look there. And a bit more. A little bit of gold on there, look, just to give it that lift. And then over again, press them out. That one's not in properly, look, so now's the time to do it. Make sure it looks alright, and then over again to lock it. And that leaves your hands free to start the next one. Don't worry if you see a little bit of the top, because we'll cover that later. It's really these sides. So now we go again. A little bit of the blue on the side, look, to give it that nice lift. And a little bit of Christmas tree in there, I think. push that one in as well. There you go, and then over once, make sure it's in the right position, and then once more to lock it. I'll do one more and then I'll go round to the end. Same again, look. Oh, nice, and I like that conifer, it's nice and bushy. And then a little bit gold now and again. Cover the centre. If you look at even this, which is green, it's green, but if you spin it now and again, it gives it that nice blue colour as well. That one's got a bit of wood on it, so we push it in. And then we keep going until we've got this side really bulked up. There you go. A little bit gold in there, I think. Just a bit, just to give it a lift. And then over, remember, spread everything round to the sides before you lock with the second one. Now we're coming up towards the end of the ring, so what you need to do is pull this out the way. If you've wired it in well, it'll bend, okay. Push all the straw and everything back so it's nice and tight. Then we'll add the two like we normally do on there. Which will be that one. Put those two in like that. A little bit Christmas tree for the centre, look. Push it well back. I'm holding this with one hand and I'm holding those with my fingers like that. So the palm of my hand is holding that. A little bit of Christmas tree on there, I think. just that'll do nicely, and we'll tie that one in. Then we push them apart quite tight, and then what we do now, same way, holding that back, we just carry on like we were before. But anything a little bit woody this time, like that, just push into there. It's that one you can't look, so you just lay that one on. But really bulk it, so when it's finished it'll all look the same then. There's a bit of wood on that one, look, so we'll push that in. And then we'll bolt this side up now. I don't want no holes. There you go. If it's got a bit of wood on, use it. If not, just carry on as normal. And a little bit of gold into that just to highlight this area, and I think we've got it. There's a nice piece, look. Just push it in, and then holding this back with this hand, wire over, balance everything out, and then one more to lock, and then the third one over round your thumb, back, and tie off. There you go. If you can get it through the hole, that is. Let's put it that way on. There you go. Then put the wire, put the spike well into the straw at the bottom, and then pull everything round back in place. What I do now is I go round and I just turn that edge to make sure it's covered on the edge of the wire ring, and then the inside as well. We don't want to see straw on the inside. Right, now we've come to the stage where we need to put the pine cones on. Now the pine cones, when we go out for our walks in the summer, I always put a carrier bag in my pocket, and as we walk down the side of the woods I pick up the pine cones every day. So the pine cones are literally a stone's throw from here. These are them, they're nice. What I do, I wire them so we've got a bit of blue spruce underneath. Now the blue spruce doesn't have these cones on, obviously they're pine, so there'll be long needles, but we can't work the long needle into the ring. Now this wire is a little bit thicker, so we need a little bit more strength when we pull, because we have to pull it into the cone itself. Right, so I leave enough on it so I can tie it at the back, and then I pull it through the cone like that, you see, and then when they get together give them a good twist, nice and tight. What I find is anything's going to come loose on these rings, it's always the cone, so get them as tight as you can. Again, just pull it through those like that, so it's on the cone itself, then a few twists so it's nice and tight, and then the third one, put them in threes if we can. Again, once you get them in, it's not too bad, it's just getting them into those. There you go. Then nice twist to tighten it up like that, wires together and hold them down like that. Look, there you go, and then we'll put a knot in this. Just put one in, there you go. Now we need to put a little bit of this blue spruce on it. So what I normally do is I put a tie in ready, I put my finger in so I've got a loop ready, and then I push it through and pull it back a bit so it holds itself more or less. Make sure it's the right way up. There's two ways up, you see, so it wants to be upside down here, nicely in, and then snap it to. Not too tight because you'll chop them off. And then one fresh tie on there, and then that's ready to go on. So we'll do 3 like that if you space them how you want them. So we'll have those 3 on there. We'll do 1 to show you how I do it. Now what I find is we'll put it in here. Remember, we didn't put a lot of conifer on top. This is one of the benefits of it. So when you put your things on, it's not sticking high. Wobble that string through there, the white, sorry. Move the wire so it goes between the conifer both sides. And then what I find is if they sort of sit on the side of the ring, not dead center, they seem to look better when we finish. Then we turn it over, put a knot in there now, and pull tight. As tight as you can without cutting yourself. This wire will cut you, so be careful. And then I put a ring on it, twist it down, and then cut it off. But always make sure that piece of wire is pushed into the straw itself so there's nothing to catch anyone. Then just tidy it up. What we do now, we've got to space them. So if you put them on and keep moving them until they're in a good position, and when you tie them on, try to put the most of the blue to the outside of the ring so they can see it better from the edge. So I'll tie these 2 on. That's the cones on. Now we move on to putting some holly on it. It is a holly ring, so I'm afraid we've got to do the holly. What I find is if you can bring it down so there's a stem, and then if you cut it at an angle, so because we haven't put a lot of green on top, we can easily find the wires and push these under those wires. There's lots of wires there, so we'll soon push them under. We'll do 4 pieces of the green. Obviously it's holly, so it is a little bit spiky, but it's not too bad. Now when we do the next one, we're looking for a little bit smaller holly. Just pull those off. You soon get used to doing those. Sharpen it up nicely, look. And we need 4. 2's not enough, so you want 2 either side. Now if you push and juggle it a little bit like that, it will go in. That's 1. That one's a bit too small. That's a nice one, look. That one will nicely go in there. But we don't want the feather, and we don't want that. I cut this morning, so it's still a little wet. And then point it like that. And that is just going to sit in there nicely, look. And if you juggle it backwards and forwards, it'll go in. And they're stuck now into that straw and under all those wires that we put over. Now we need some variegated in that, I think. Let's have a look. That one and that one will go nice in there. So put your thumb on top of there and strip those off. But again, you see, I've only cut that much off the tree, so it's no real detriment to the tree itself. Point it, and then in we go again. Look. You see, find a wire, it will go, just juggle it until it's nice and tight. One that way and one the other way. Same again, this leaf that's sticking up here, I always take that leaf off. So I've got an open piece where it'll go in there. But those leaves at the bottom will strip off. Again, that one has been cut at an angle, so that one will be alright. That's nice and sharp. And then that goes in that way until we can feel it bite. That's it. That's in nicely. Just flatten them down a little like that. So we've got nearly there. We want 2 small pieces now to go in there. And what I do is I always save these little tiny pieces for this job. And that will go in there nicely. And then another little one, if we can find one. That's a bit too big. There you go. Look, that little piece there will go in as well. Just take those off. These don't really have to, the small pieces don't really have to go into the wire because they're too small, but they need to be in there tightish. And then on top of that, we need a berry now to hold it all down. Now I use plastic berries. Obviously if you use the real berries, which are these, the birds will come more or less as you hang it up and take those. So I take those off. I don't waste them, I throw them on the garden and the birds fetch them. But the holly berries, we use plastic. Leave enough that side to be able to tie it. And I don't, there is a hole to thread it through, but I don't use that. I just put it in on the centre like that and put a tie on it. Just tie it so it's just biting. Again, they're only plastic, so don't pull it too tight, else it will snap them. There you are. And that actually is going to sit, bury the wire through the conifer, etc. at the sides, both sides, and hold it underneath and just set the berries where they need to go. Like that, look, make sure everything's tucked underneath it, you see? And then spin the ring and tie off. Tight, get it nice and tight, put a twist in it, and then I just turn them over so it's nice and tight. Cut off, and then most important, bury the wires. Push them into the straw, point down. And that's how we do the holly. Now we should do another one there and another one there. So I'll do those and then I'll come back to you. Now that's 3 of the holly clusters put on. I take a little bit of holly, variegated, and I place it just below each cluster so it brings it round the edge. So I'll pop those in and then show you it done. It just tidies the edge of the ring and brings the variegated through, which is, I always think that makes it nice. Right, now we've got to the stage where we need to put one of these in. These will make up, all it is ivy flowers, 2 different ivy flowers actually. That one's actually called Paddy's Pride, which is a nice gold flower, so we'll use that. Some gold conifer and some ilex or holly, which is not quite so prickly. There's one bush in the forest that's not quite so prickly as the others, so I always take the leaves of that one to make these with. A little bit of holly on the front, wired together, and then what we'll do, we'll put these in there like that, look, So you've got holly and ivy going round. Now I don't actually use ivy leaves themselves because they don't last as long on the finished ring. When these rings are finished, they last for weeks and weeks because everything in that we use will keep. As long as you keep them cool and outside, they last for ages. It's when you bring them in and they start to dry out, that's when they'll start to brown a little. There they are, and that's what we make them out of, those bits there. I just need to get a little bit different holly because I picked some this morning that is a bit smoother edged than that. This is the holly I use. You can see how nice and smooth it is. We'll use those instead of the prickly one. So we'll take that off first, we don't want that on. And we'll take all those off. So we've got a nice stem to start with. And then this is the other one we'll use. We just take those two off and we'll put that one at the back. You see, like that. That is as close to ivy leaf as we can get without actually using ivy leaves. Then I put a piece of gold conifer at the back, like that. And then I put the gold flower at the top, and then two of the green flowers below it, and then a little bit of holly just to give it the variegation. Now I use the thin binding wire, not the heavier wire, and then I take a piece out, make sure it's long enough to tie on, and then I just wrap that, he says. I just wrap that round at least 3 times, holding it so it's nice and together. There you go. You see? Get to the back and tie it. There you are. Now what to do now, take the secateurs and take those off like that, so I can able to get that under that cone cluster. I'll show you them on and then I'll come back to you and show you them done. So you push it under the cones and under, if you can, the actual conifer itself. You can't always get them under, but it doesn't matter because if we can see them, we'll hide them with a piece of holly when we're finished. There you go, look. I'll go in something like that. Perhaps a little bit further in than that when we wire it. So I'll get these wired on and then I'll show you them done. Now if you wish, you can keep it like that, put your ribbon on, and that's that ring done. But I like to put in some of these baubles just to give it a brighten it up so it looks more Christmassy. I just put 3 together on the wire and just tie them. They're only plastics, working on the 3s. So 1, 2 and 3 there. I'll get those wired on and show you that, and then we'll look at putting a ribbon on it. Now that's the ring completed. We've finished building it. We've just now have to put a ribbon on it, and I'll show you how we make those. Take the ribbon, put both ends together or thereabouts, and then what I do is the other way. What I do is I fold that over like that, and that one like that. Make sure it's balanced both sides, perhaps a little bit more on that one, not. And then I fold under, then that over. So the front is an upwards fold, and then take the little bit of ribbon like that, put that round, fold that in half, pull that through like that, and then try and tie it so the knot finishes up across the ribbon. That's quite important. Then turn it over, pull them down, fill them out, balance the two tie bits there at that, and then that's ready now to go on the ring. It's a waterproof ribbon, so it doesn't matter if it's outside and it gets wet. Then we take the ring, and we have to decide now where we're going to put it. I think we put it there. Looking round, yes, there's a little bit of space there, so we'll go in there with it. Now work the ribbon through the conifer like we do the wires, so we don't want to see red ribbon going down, and then place it where we want it, perhaps halfway up the ring, and then turn over and tie off. Nice and tight. Now tidy the ribbon, and what I do is I cut the ribbon at an angle like that on both sides, and that's your holly ring completed. There's several variations that you can do. This one is gold. Diane wanted hers in gold. She likes gold, so I've made a gold ring. That'll look nice on that front door. A ring for their loved one's grave. So this is what I make for a grave ring. No ribbons, no baubles, no cones, just a nice ring, and that will last for weeks outside. Yeah. This is the one we made today, and Sharon, that one's for you. Now that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. We do appreciate it. Take care everyone, and we'll see you next week. Diane will show you the rings we've done ready to go up the village, and I'll see you next week. Bye now.